Good morning, everyone. Go ahead and check your homework answers. Pause if you need more time. All right, today we're doing lesson 6, volume of prisms and cylinders, and also composite volume. So the general formula for volume of a prism is volume equals base area, that's what the big B stands for, times the height. The volume for a cylinder is actually the same thing. A cylinder has a base that's a circle. So the area of a circle is pi r squared. So that's your base area, and then times its height. So I'm asking you to find the exact volume of the given cylinder. So here's your formula. So I plug in the 3 for my radius, and then I multiply by the 8. So I have pi times 9 times 8, which is 72 pi. And my units, because I'm talking about 3 dimensions, is going to be centimeters cubed. So the exact volume means leave it in terms of pi. 2a, find the volume of the oblique cylinder in terms of pi. So once again, I have my formula, volume equals pi r squared h. And I can see that my radius is 4 because it's half the diameter. And my height, remember height has to be perpendicular between the 2 bases, is 16. So I have pi equals 16 times 16. And it does say in terms of pi, which is another way of saying the exact value. So that means I'm just going to do 16 times 16. So 256 pi, and that's meters cubed. If it wants me to round to the nearest tenth, then I simply have to multiply by pi, that 216, or excuse me, that 256. So 804.2 meters cubed. So just pay close attention if I want the exact or if I want you to round. 3, find the volume of this prism. So this is a triangular prism. Because its base is a triangle. And I can tell what the base is because the 2 bases always are parallel to each other. All right, so I have to find the area of this triangle, and then I have to multiply by the height of the prism. So I know my height is 12, and I have to work on the area of the triangle. So area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So looking at this triangle, I can see that I've got the height of the triangle is 6, but I don't have the base. I do have a right triangle though, and I have the hypotenuse is 10. So bells should be going off in your head to use the Pythagorean theorem in order to figure out that missing leg, which is my base. So one leg, which is 6 squared, plus I don't know the other leg, equals 10 squared. So b squared equals 64. I take the square root. Technically, it's plus or minus. But we know in geometry, a lot of times we're talking about distances. So this is a length of 8, not -8. All right, so I have my base of my triangle is 8. My height is 6. And I'm going to divide by 2 in order to get the area of that triangle. So the area of the triangle is 24. And then come back over here, I've got 24 for the base area times the height of my prism. So I have to figure out 24 times 12, and that's going to give me 288. And it doesn't give me any units, so I'm just going to write units cubed. And that's how I do it for all the prisms. Find that base area and then multiply by the height. So I can throw any type of prism at you now. Find the volume of this prism below. Take a moment, think about what type of prism it is. It's a trapezoidal prism because you can see that the bases are trapezoids. So you should remember, if not, here it is, the area of a trapezoid. It's actually very similar to area of a triangle, if you think about it. So area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. The trapezoid, you add the bases together, then multiply the height and divide by 2. All right, so let's see what information I have. So here's my trapezoid right here, and I've got a base of 16. And then the other base I can see right here is 8. The height of my trapezoid, remember, it must be perpendicular between the two bases. So that's what the 3 is pointing to. And then I divide by 2. So I've got 3 times 24 divided by 2. So that's 36 for the area of this base. And now I'm just going to multiply that by the height of this prism, which is 12. So the volume is, the base area is 36 and the height is 12. And I get 432, and that's inches cubed. So composite figures are when you have a three-dimensional combination or two or more of the simpler figures we just talked about. So for example, we have estimate the volume of the backpack shown. So the backpack roughly resembles two simple figures that we understand. So go ahead and take a moment and figure out those two figures. Feel free to pause the video if you need more think time. So the top I see is, whoops, the top, going backwards, is half a cylinder. So I'm talking about this piece right here. This is half a cylinder. The bottom is a rectangular prism. So if I can find the volume of each of these, then I can add them together. So if I start with the rectangular prism, which is the bottom half, I know it's base area times height. Well, the base area is that rectangle, and a rectangle is length times width, and then I just have to multiply by the height of the prism. So let's see, I have a length of 12 and a width of 4. And then the height of the prism, how tall does it go to here, is that 11. So I have 528, and that is in inches cubed. Now I'm going to do half the cylinder. Well, remember, cylinder is also base area times height, but I'm doing half of it. And the area of a circle is pi r squared. That's for the area, the base area, and then times the height. All right, so I've got half pi, and now I have r squared. So I'm looking up here, and I have to figure out the radius, and this is the radius right here. Well, the whole thing's 17, and I stop here at 11, so this must be 6. And then the height, in this case, is going to be how deep the cylinder is. So it's this distance right here, or that measurement, so that's 4. Now it does say to estimate. So I'm first going to write the exact, and then we'll round. All right, so we have, let's see, I'm going to do 36 times 4 times the half. So I get 72, and then I still have the pi, and that's inches cubed. So if the question wanted the exact volume, I would have to keep everything separate because they are 528, and then I have the 72 pi. But it does say to estimate. So I'm going to type in 528 plus 72 pi. and I'm going to round to the nearest whole number. So 754 inches cubed. Because if you think about it, if you've ever shopped for a backpack or any type of bag, they do give you an estimation of its volume, how much it can hold. And they, of course, wouldn't include pi. That'd be confusing for most consumers. All right, find the volume of this one. So I'm going to give you a little think time. So would you pause the video and try this? I'm going to jump into it. And I do want to acknowledge that there's more than one way to do this. So I'm going to cut right here and look at this as two rectangular prisms. So the bottom one, for my length times width times height, I have 5 times 12 times 16. And then the top one is once again length times width times height. So this total distance right here is 9, but here is 5. So this must be 4. And then I can see this length is 12. So I have length times width times height. And now I just have to figure out what each of these are. So 5 times 12 times 16. (960) meters cubed. And then I've got the bottom one, 192 meters cubed. And now I just have to add the two of them together to get 1,152 meters cubed. All right, our last one here. So we have Jordan is designing a mold for a concrete block to be used in a custom landscaping project. The block is shown in the diagram with corresponding dimensions and consists of two intersecting rectangular prisms that are flush on two sides. Find the volume of the mixed concrete in cubic feet needed to make Jordan's custom block. All right, first thing I want to point out, it's super important that we read carefully, and they do want my final answer in cubic feet. Right now, I have everything in inches, so we'll take care of the cubic feet at the end. All right, so I have to find the volume here. So I've got a couple ways to do this. Feel free to pause so you can have some think time. I think I'm going to keep the bottom block intact and then cut the top block. That makes the most sense in my brain. So for the bottom one, I have length times width times height for that rectangular prism. So I have 24 inches times 24 inches times 8 inches. So my length, my width, and my height. So I did the whole bottom block. So that's, I'm going to call that block 1. Block 2, I'm going to call this chunk right here. And I know it's length times width times height again. So I have a height of 8. And I need to figure out this dimension right here. Well, all the way across is 24. And this is 8. So this must be 16. So I've got the 8 and I've got the 16. Now I need to figure out this depth, how deep it is, or the width or the height, whatever I want to consider this dimension. So I look carefully and I realize it's 8. All right, block 3. All right, so I have the 8 already. That's this right here. I have this whole dimension here is 40, but I'm really cutting off 16 of it. So 40 take away 16, whoops, is how I get 24 for this dimension going across. And then I need the height right here. So in order to figure out this height, I can tell that this distance is 8 and then all the way down to the bottom is another 8. So this height is 16. So now I just have to multiply everything together. So I've got the top one is the 24 times 24 times 8. The second one is 1,024. And then the third one, I got 3,072. So remember, these are all in cubic inches. So now I'm going to add them all together. And I have this many cubic inches. All right, now I need to change it into cubic feet. So one tricky thing about changing from cubic inches to cubic feet is what actually is happening here. So if you think of a cube that is 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, that would mean that I have 12 inches by 12 inches by 12 inches. So a cubic foot equals how many cubic inches? I have to do 12 times 12 times 12. So it's 1,728 cubic inches. So now I want to take 8,704 cubic inches and I want to convert it into cubic feet. So that means I have to write the 1,728 cubic inches here, and that is the same as 1 cubic foot. So now I realize that my cubic inches will divide out, and I'm going to be left with my cubic feet. So I actually have to divide 8,704 divided by 1,728, and I get 5.03704 cubic feet. And the question said, just find the volume in cubic feet. So I'm just going to leave it like that. It doesn't tell me what to round to, so I'll leave it like that. The other option would have been to convert everything into feet to start. I just thought that would have been a little more complicated given that I don't have full feet or even half feet in some of these. All right, your homework tonight is the day 6, so make sure you start working on that now. And of course, feel free to rewatch the video. If I did make any calculation mistakes, feel free to talk about them. And then of course, when I'm back, we can always go through them again. All right, have a great day, everyone. Bye.